Hey players, in Lubbock, Texas yesterday, 36-year-old Larry Pearson was sentenced to 70 years in prison for spitting on Lubbock police officers. Grab your tea and have a seat. Let's get into it. So Larry Pearson was found guilty of harassing a public servant and for spitting at Lubbock police officers, so they sentenced him to 70 years in prison. He was arrested in May of 2022 for a domestic violence situation. So the victim flagged down a police officer and told them that Larry Pearson had hit her several times and that he had a weapon. Now, the weapon turned out to be a toy, but a police report at the time stated that the victim had multiple visible injuries on her face. And when Larry Pearson was arrested, he was upset that the victim was not arrested instead. So he started acting very erratic in the police vehicle. He was kicking at the doors. And when the officers opened the doors to tell him to stop, that's when Larry Pearson allegedly spit on both of the officers. And he continued to spit after he arrived at the Lubbock County Detention Center. So during closing arguments of the sentencing phase of Larry Pearson's trial, because he had been found guilty, the prosecutor asked the jury to consider a number that would send a message to Larry Pearson and society. She said Pearson had prior convictions of aggravated robbery and continuous family violence. Now, the defense attorney argued to the jury that the sentencing was for a simple misdemeanor in a circumstance that got out of control. But due to Larry Pearson's prior convictions, the minimum sentence he could receive was 25 years. Now, the prosecutor said if you're going to live a life of crime, you're going to have to do it among other criminals in prison. The prosecutor also stated that if this had been his first time doing something like this, he would not have been sentenced to 70 years in prison. But since he had the prior convictions, that is what he received. All right, players. So Larry was allegedly beating up on a victim. When he was arrested, he was upset because the victim wasn't arrested as well. So he spit on officers several times. He did not stop. And he also had a prior record in which some of it was violence and also an armed robbery. So he had a mandatory minimum of 25 years and he ended up getting 70 years behind bars. There's those mandatory minimums. I declare, honey. I want to know what y'all think about this. Do y'all think this was fair that he be sentenced to 70 years because of his prior convictions and he's apparently still committing crimes? Or do you think it's wrong for him to be sentenced to that much time? Put your thoughts in the comments, players. Let me know what you're thinking. This is Double D Mo for the Black Accurate News.